Take these sunglasses off. I don't need those.
So you guys are first cousins? Wow. And did you have a Thanksgiving dinner together? Yeah. What is business? What is personal? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. Just a thing.
I study paper every Wednesday. Send out. You're doing a great job.
And so they say that. This is really
Well, the chamber has one of these, right? Yeah, next.
I'm afraid so. So I find that
So
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. If I could have your attention, please. If we go, just calm down. Sorry. Poor choice of words. Hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our District 1 Candidates Forum. For those of you who don't know, my name is Mike De Oliveira. I'm the publisher and editor of the New Pelican newspaper. We have our candidates tonight, Audrey Fezzik and Commissioner Andrea McGee. So what I'm going to do is we'll do introductions, and then I will ask some questions, and then we'll let the audience ask some questions afterwards. So first of all, I'd like to thank the candidates for both coming tonight. I'd also like to thank you all for coming as well. And I'd like to thank the Legion for allowing us to do this here tonight. So thank you to everybody who's participated. But so why don't we go ahead and we'll do 1 minute introductions. We'll do Commissioner McGee.
Hello. Hi there. My name is Andrea McGee. I'm your City Commissioner for District 1 and Vice Mayor. I've been your City Commissioner for the last 6 years and Vice Mayor for the last 2. I was born and raised here in Pompano Beach, and I love my hometown. My father's family moved here in the 50s, my mother in the 60s. I attended St. Coleman's and Cardinal Gibbons, and then University of Miami. I worked in film and television in Los Angeles for a couple of years, and then development in Washington, D.C. until the market fell when I came home. Started working residential real estate mainly, and got the bug to try and first I ran for Congress twice, and then decided that I could do real good right now in my hometown as we embarked on this massive renovation of Pompano Beach that I'm very happy and proud to be a part of. So thank you.
Hi everybody, thanks for coming. I'm Audrey Fezzik. I am also originally from Pennsylvania, but I grew up down here, went to high school at Gibbons as well. And since we have the same family, I can spare you the rest of those details. But I grew up and I had 4 children, and I raised 4 children moved around. I was working in sales, marketing, and business development for the past 25 years. I am now back in Pompano, which I am very happy to be since 2019. And I have a passion for creating and curating that neighborhood feel that I knew and loved in the 90s when I was here last time. So I love the community, I love the area, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to stay, so I'd love to be a part of the community and be able to help the community as best I can to represent the voice of District 1. Thank you.
And so the candidates will have 2 minutes to answer each question, and we have a timekeeper as well. So when you hear the dial go off, please wrap it up. First question is for Mrs. Fezzik. So 14th Street Causeway has had a speeding problem for a long time now. If you were elected, what would you do to lessen or eliminate this problem?
This is actually a great question because I've just talked to a bunch of people at the North Ocean Park who had this very concern. Specifically related to this, I think we need more police presence. We need to potentially look at potentially having another street light or stoplight there. I know that's a causeway as it goes, but people come over the bridge, and what happens is they tend to fly over the bridge because they come down, and unfortunately, there's been several accidents there as well into the almost hitting kids in the playground. So I think we need to bring a police presence there, make sure that they're actually doing the speed checks, slow that traffic down. And the radar checks don't work if everybody posts on Facebook that they're there and sitting. So maybe we need to have some active presence by the police force there and look into seeing if we can have a light there. The other portion at 14th Street that's a big issue is the Allsdorf Park, where the boats come out and the parking lot. There's a lot of traffic there, and of course that's also an accident waiting to happen in terms of trailers, boats, and the cars that are flying over the bridge. So we would definitely need police presence and perhaps maybe look at some traffic feasibility studies there.
Commissioner?
Yes, no, we've had problems on 14th Street Causeway for a while now. That's when we were able to install the speed monitoring sign to try and get that to calm down a bit. One of the problems we have with 14th Street Causeway is it's not a city-owned road. So we have to go through higher departments up to try and get them to focus on the causeway and try and bring in whatever it is that they would like to bring in, but we are limited by that. And as far as police presence, I know they rotate in on that, and obviously we can continue to bring in police presence and try and catch people as they're going. One of the things that we found out with the speed light that catches your speed is that some people were using that to actually clock themselves on how fast they could go, which is why it switched over to just blinking at you to slow down when you hit over the speed limit. But it's a constant concern of ours that we do focus on and have been working on for a while now.
This one's for you to start off, Commissioner McGee. Commissioner Fournier has said that she wants to sunset the ECRA. If elected, would you vote to do that?
I cannot answer that with other commissioners in the room. It would be a violation of sunshine law.
Okay. Ms. Fessick?
I'd love to answer it, but.
Yeah.
The ECRI,
Yes.
it served its purpose, I believe. It's done a great job bringing lots of things here, but the main reason for a community redevelopment agency, as discussed in the city commission meetings, is to create development and to create opportunity and to create areas that are beneficial to the city based on slum and blight. I think everybody in District 1 can agree that at this point in time, we don't really have a problem bringing developers or bringing opportunities to District 1 at this point in time. We are now looking at sort of seeing how that's going to continue. So the CRA has been absolutely wonderful. Let's not discount it, but it has served its purpose. And I think it's sunsetting that CRA. The time has come.
All right, next question.
Yes, because it wouldn't just be me, it'd be the other officials that are in this room, and I'd love to answer this question. Do you guys want to not break sunshine?
We can be, we just can't respond.
Is it? If you're comfortable with that, I just don't want to.
You're allowed to talk.
Okay.
Lots of good music, though.
So, the main reason that I do want to, and I've said often in city commission meetings, keep the CRA, is the best way to explain the CRA is more to think about it as your checking account and your credit card. Both are coming out of the same wallet. The CRA allows us the ability to finance some of these projects over a period of time that we wouldn't be able to do as a city. Now, the city commission is the CRA board. It's one and the same. It's a financing mechanism, which is why, if we do sunset it, that money goes back to the county. And then we lose the ability to finance things, such as the main one we're working on right now is the McNabb House and Botanical Gardens. It's a large amount that we want to be able to take good financing on and spread it out over the years and be able to get it done, as opposed to, assessing or raising taxes to get it done quicker. So again, the best way that I can explain it is 2 cards, same wallet. Debit card, credit card, financing mechanism.
So you would, just as simple, you would keep it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a benefit for us.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. I appreciate you trying to make the question happen. Thank you. All right, Ms. Fessick, this is for you to start off. One resident recently said that they don't think the city's doing enough to communicate with the residents. Do you agree or disagree with that assessment? If you agree, what would you do to improve that communication?
All right, I like to see the people in the back, so I'll stand up again. That is the primary reason I decided to run. So I had been coming to meetings and I had been having my own frustrations with the city and with communication. Yes, the things are there and they're posted on the website. Finding them is a little bit more difficult than the average person might want to spend that kind of time. I think specifically to the city, from a larger standpoint, making sure that there's a lot easier ways to communicate that information. For example, the development service, the DRC, Development Services, Development Review Committee, they have most of their meetings via Zoom. in this day and age, it would be very easy for those to be posted online. If you know what's happening in the Development Review Committee, that you then now have an idea of what's going to go to Planning and Zoning, and then you have an idea what may or may not come before the City Commission. So by just starting at the beginning, having that information readily available is going to be helpful. If that's just on the development side. From a communication side, I mean, I know 2020 was really difficult for everybody with COVID and everything else, but we need to get back out in the public, and so we need to have more events and more forums, and this is citywide, but also district-wide for the specific to the district. We need to be able to come together so that you, as residents, can voice what you are concerned about, and then in turn, we can do polls, emails, just surveys, and you can have a community forum where we can actually discuss the issues at hand. And if I know what if I know what you're talking about, or if I know what your concern, or if Ms. McGee knows what your concern is, then perhaps we can best represent you on the dais and in the city.
And a quick yes or no, would you have monthly meetings for your district?
Absolutely. I would actually, I'd probably do two monthly, because I like to do one in the evening and then one perhaps maybe like a Saturday morning or something like that. So that just in case somebody's schedule doesn't work, we could do something like a breakfast and then do maybe just a community forum similar to the one that Ms. Warney does.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner, same question.
So, yes, the City Commission has its meetings, and it also posts online. We have a dedicated social media person who posts on social media. We advertise when we need to, and we also, when appropriate, reach out to the residents around for specific issues. As far as more what we could do, we have events. We are out at the events. You know, the other commissioners and I attend, either it's Untapped or Music Under the Stars, and are very approachable and around. You know, one of the things that I have done personally is I respond to emails, and when residents have a specific issue, I go to them, because that way they can show me, usually on their property, what the problem is, where it is, what we can do about it. I also attend condo board meetings, so that way, or do presentations if requested. That way, again, I'm not trying to, I tried in the beginning to have community meetings and found that the show up wasn't as great as could be useful. And that's when I went on the, I will come to you whenever you need me. And on my emails, I respond very quickly and try and handle what I can that way. Now, as far as how residents can be more involved, you definitely come to the commission meetings, you know, especially, that's why we have the morning and the evening, so that depending on your work schedule, your comfort driving at night, you can decide which one works best for your schedule. People come up and talk to us on the dais or grab us after a meeting, we're around. And yes, Ms. Beckett has recently started coming to meetings, but you know, as early as April, I told you should get involved with the ECRA, and you told me your travel schedule wouldn't allow you to have enough time to do that. So I know you've been recently getting involved and paying attention, because there was a developer building within his rights 2 properties over from you that I couldn't stop. I don't like that project. I would not have voted for that project. The reality is, what's worse than a project that I don't like is a government that can take away individuals' property rights.
Next question's for you to start. If you were the sole vote on the commission, what's one way you would generate more revenue for the city without increasing property taxes or fees?
That's a good question. How is the sole vote? One of them that I would do, and I've actually been discussing this with a few of the residents in the marine industry, is I would add onto Alsdorf Park a commercial dock on the east side and allow for both commercial pickup with a licensing agreement, so that way it could cover a full-time dockmaster and bring in revenue to the city there, and also allow for, there's an issue going on in the county with the people who are renovating seawalls, which is massively important, being able to unload their dump into trucks. And Alsdorf is one of the only places that it could happen. I'd have to be able to get Florida Inland Navigation District and the state to allow us to do that. So if I'm the sole vote in making something happen, it would probably be that. And then also, I'm going to take a second one, would be to make sure that we got the trains in the Tri-Rail, the Bright Line, and the link between the two, because we're the only place in the Tri-County area that could have that. And that would bring a lot of job opportunity and residential opportunity here without adding to the traffic.
Ms. Fessick, same question.
Can you repeat the question, just because I want to make sure I'm...
Yeah, what's a without raising taxes or fees, what's a way, if you were the sole vote, how would you raise more money for the city?
I think first we need to look at what we're spending and how we're spending it. So you can raise money for the city, but you can look at the opportunities that exist within the city. But you also have to look at what you're spending and how you're spending it. So when the bottom line is what counts for you bringing in additional revenue, there are opportunities for us to have more revenue by merely maybe not contracting or out so much of our city business, because those contracts represent millions and millions of dollars, and in some cases they're unchecked. In some cases there's change orders that can be put into place, and there's no way for us to know exactly how much we're spending. It's hidden in the budget lines under consulting fees. In terms of opportunity, again, with spending, McNabb House being one of them, we've spent $1.8 million for somebody to tell us where to put the plants before we, that's not covering the plants, by the way. And the 3 people that they brought in to be the professionals, none of them are from this area, none of them are from Florida, and they are all commanding a very high ticket point. Now, one of the things we could do, in essence, and to change that, we have amazing colleges and partnerships here. We have UF nearby, we have Nova University. There's organizations with their Broward Native Plant organizations. We have a lot of things we can do to partner with, as a city, partner with either these organizations where we can have a grant and perhaps maybe offset some of those costs. Once you do that, we can look at the other opportunities. In terms of revenue, I don't ever want to be the sole voice of anything. I'd like to make sure that it kind of goes back to the residents, and let's listen to ideas and let's look at opportunities that we could have.
This next question is for you, Ms. Fessett. The city provides pension payments to elected officials after they leave the dais. If you're elected, do you think the city should continue this practice?
I was unaware of this, actually, until I signed up to run, and then somebody brought it to my attention. I don't know what the actual pension rate is that's being offered, so I don't know that I'm not running for the pension. I'm not even running for the salary. I'm running for my neighborhood and my community. I don't know enough about the actual cost of the pension or how it's paid out, and until I don't feel like I could fully answer that question because I don't know the dollar amounts associated with it.
Well, it varies depending on how much you're paid, just like a regular employee, but just kind of philosophically, do you think elected officials should be getting a pension after they leave office?
No, I don't. I think really there's no, okay, listen, I got divorced and I didn't even get alimony, you know what I mean? So, in fact, I was left in a different situation than I started, and it wasn't a great one. But so no, I don't think anybody should really feel entitled to anything. You do show up, you do a good job, you save your money, and you move on. It's this elected official in the city. I don't feel like we need to have the additional drain because the cost, again, you just lower your expenses. So I don't know enough about how much we're actually spending pension, but I don't think that, I know that I wouldn't expect to get a pension, and I don't need one, and I don't think it would be right for me to take one.
Commissioner, same question.
I have to say, when I ran, I also did not know there was a pension in the city. The way it is, just to be clear, the way it's structured in the city is elected officials do not qualify for their pension until they've been in office for 5 years, or you can opt into the state pension plan, which is an 8-year commitment. When I joined, I opted into the state because that one I could pay into separately, and it wouldn't go on to the city at the end. But that's the way it runs. As far as elected officials, I definitely believe in wanting to get people who are here for the right reasons, but also for the best of the best. And the reality is this is, although it's considered a part-time job, it's a full-time job. It's a 365 days of the year. You're in Publix, you're in your elevator, wherever you are, I'm answering emails, I'm talking to people. It is a beyond full-time job. And I'm fortunate enough, I own my own brokerage, so I can handle it. But as far as getting people involved in this, in politics, into running a city and caring about their city, unless you are independently wealthy or self-employed, the time commitment, we've seen where commissioners, it's very difficult to have them, we have 3 mandatory meetings a month. Then we have the prep meetings for each of those. Then I know I'm on a couple different boards, as one should be. If you're taking this job seriously and you're trying to do the best work for your residents, for your cities, you need to be able to do all that. We are not even close, we're right in a decent point. I don't think we should be paying city officials a huge amount, but it needs to compensate time. Otherwise, I would be concerned on who's running and what their motives are. And you end up with kind of what we see in some of the other areas in the state or nation, where you only get in if you, like I said, are independently wealthy and can do it that way.
So in general, you would be in favor of keeping the pensions?
Yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't. Again, I like the parameters that are in there. It's not, you don't get it day one. You have to have been committed and stayed in the job for a while to earn it.
Oh,
And so, yeah.
thank you. You have the next question to start. How would you judge the city's affordable housing efforts so far, and what would you do to provide more affordable housing?
Well, City of Pompano is second only to the City of Fort Lauderdale in Broward County on an affordable housing number of units. One of the things I think we've done very well with it is that we changed our parameters where we don't do full buildings of affordable housing. We do mixed income housing. What's nice about that is as you move from either affordable housing to workforce or eventually market rate, if you like your building, you can stay in it. If you like your neighbors, you've created a community, you can be there. And so I think we've been doing a great job with that and encouraging that throughout the city. As far as more what we could do with it, a lot of, actually, where I think we could look outside the box to create wouldn't be technically affordable housing, because on that we'd be under the Broward County, which if you look at the numbers, their definition of affordable housing is still very expensive. And to try and deal with the homeless population would be something more of a transitional housing setup, micro units where people who are just getting going can, maybe part of their rent goes towards building up a deposit, a security deposit for where they are going once they have a job, and are able to put aside through working with either Broward Outreach for the Homeless or other groups to then have, now when they are ready to move into affordable housing or into wherever they're moving, that they have now saved up for SLAS security and are able to actually make that move. So that's where I would like to see us explore doing better.
Ms. Fessick?
Affordable housing in the city is important, but we are also here talking about District 1. And a lot of the conversations I've had regarding affordable housing as it relates to our district specifically is that a lot of people are feeling like they can't afford to live in our district, or they feel like they're being edged out at the beach side a lot. Condos, people are having issues with their condo HOAs and their renovations going up, excess fees, excess costs. Affordable housing is important, but again, it depends on how you define that. So if you're defining it as a percentage of your income, or if you're discussing affordable housing for areas that, for example, like the Northwest and in Pompano, Northwest and Pompano, this is a different issue. I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to have affordable housing. I am more concerned right now with learning about some of the things that we can do, but also at the same time, I'm more concerned about the residents right now who can't afford where they're living or feel like they're being pushed out, the rent's gone up, and their taxes, or their pretty much every expense they've had, their HOA, their tax, their assessments. I know that is a massive and major concern, especially for a lot of the retirees who are living on a fixed income. And so now that's the income that's no longer affordable for them. Since I do have a couple, just maybe a few seconds, I am present, I am available, and I obviously, even if I do travel, which I am very flexible doing, I do have the time and the effort and the desire, and I have not been recently attending meetings. I have been coming to the City Commission meetings for over a year and a half, and if anybody in here has any input at later on, but you know that I have responded to you, I have called you back, I have chased you down, I've gone and met with you, whether I was running or not, so I'm always present and available.
Next question. So the city attempted to start its own charter school, but that seems to have stalled for now, at least. Should the city pursue its own school, and is there anything else that Pompano can do to improve the schools here?
Education, number one. You cannot have families be attracted to Pompano Beach and choose to invest and live here if we're not investing in our young folks, right? So we have opportunities available to them. We need to have programs, projects. We need a charter school. We need to increase the schools that we have. I don't know the details specifically related to the charter school, but I think education and the ability for families to have a reason to want to live in Pompano and want to be here and raise their families here and not only choose private schools as their only option. I know that the Pompano Beach schools have been doing a lot better. They just had one of the principals come in and talk about how they are now they raised their rating and they raised their rating overall. So we're doing better and we can do even better. I think we need to see where we're spending money again and focus some of that right back to the schools and to the communities that we serve. So that's the, again, without getting in, as just a resident myself at the moment, not having access or to some of the insider information that we would be privy to sitting as a commissioner, it's important to learn more about where we can best serve the needs of the community, but I think a charter school may be a very good option. But education and investing in our students and investing in the schools and the teachers and the staff, that's got to be key, or else we're not going to have the residents that want to choose to raise their family here.
Commission?
Can you just repeat it?
Yeah, the city just attempted to start its own charter school, but that seems to have stalled, at least for now. Should the city continue to do that, or is there anything else they can do to improve public schools?
Yes, no, I supported the charter school when it first came up. What had happened with that one is where the stall happened was COVID. COVID came in and obviously stalled the world. And so I would definitely be in support of re-exploring a charter school and seeing if the school board was open to allowing us to do it still, because that has lapsed. So we'd have to get them on board again. And then also we need to find the real estate for it, because to put a school in somewhere, we need to know where we can put all the students that would attend. The hard part is right now with the school board is, as you know, it's been in the news a lot, the school board's even looking at closing down schools because of attendance situations. So working with the school board and figuring out what their view is also important, because again, we need their blessing in order to move forward once again with that. So I'd be full in support of it because I think it's a great asset to the city. Pembroke Pines does an amazing job with their charter school. That's whose consultants we were working with at the time. And it's something that we should always keep in mind. And then the other thing that I think that we are looking into now, which would be also a huge asset, is trying to attract a partner for like a vocational tech school, for being able to train people in more job skills that can help them get careers and job abilities that would make them more money to be able to, afford life as it is so far in America.
Okay, this next question also might be a sunshine problem, but Commissioner Fournier has spoken out against the Atlantic-Dixie intersection project, and she wants to see Atlantic Boulevard expanded. I know in the past that you voted for the narrowing. Do you still think that vote was the right vote?
I want to go a little bit further back into that. When Atlantic and Dixie first came to us, the initial traffic people in the plan was to remove about 8 lanes from the whole thing. And the first traffic consultants that we met, and the traffic consultants we met with, I remember my first meeting with them, I was harsh. I said, this is not Las Olas. They kept comparing us to Las Olas. I'm like, we're not that. We can't be that. You also don't want it to be Swinton, or Atlantic Avenue where it hits Swinton. That this is a connector road. Atlantic hits A1A, US 1, 95, and the Turnpike. So it was very important to me that we did not try and narrow it down too much. Now, as far as when we talk about traffic calming, the type of stuff we've been working on addressing is slowing down the people who are speeding down Atlantic at 60, 70 miles an hour, like the guy who recently crashed into the Truist. That is the idea of what the traffic calming is supposed to do at that intersection. The addition of the beautification leads to people driving more, because of visual stimulation, driving more cognizantly down those roads. And yes, I do believe that once we move forward with the downtown development, just like we have in the whole area there, that it will be an amazing move for the city. that will bring in exactly what I've been talking about that is so necessary, is the real jobs, real careers with upward mobility and socioeconomic benefit for everyone in Pompano. And we need to have a city center for that. And because we moved forward with the Atlantic-Dixie project is how we attracted a master developer who's already committed to spending upwards of $1.5 billion to make this happen. And I know there's a lot of people who are like, oh, no one's ever gonna walk across Atlantic and Dixie, no one's ever gonna walk in that area. That's what they said about Sistrunk. That's what they said about the parking garage on the beach, is that no one was ever gonna park there, and now it's full. We brought in the right people, the right consultants, and I have to say, I want to touch upon consultants for the moment. I believe in bringing in experts in their field to help guide us. Now you have to question those experts. You have to make sure that they understand what your wants are. But at the end of the day, they are experts, and then at the same time, going back to the pension idea, if we brought everybody in-house, then those end up being salaries and benefits and pensions that all add up over however long the person is with the city. So a couple-year contract with an expert consultant in the long run can be much more financially smart for a city.
This is one of my favorite subjects. Okay, so let's see. I want to touch on a few things first. The main development, and this is again, we're here in District 1. I have heard, I don't know how many hundreds of complaints about Atlantic and Dixie and that whole debacle, but what the main thing is here is we're talking about upward mobility. The consultants that we currently have for this project to build the downtown, they've built other projects in other areas, and they have done so, and surprisingly, the jobs have not been created within the city. Those jobs have not been people that are living in the city. The people in the Northwest where they are currently, they feel like that this whole project is being shoved down their throats, and they feel like they've been left in the dust, pretty much. They feel like they're being pushed out, gentrification. The main reason with the traffic calming for the Atlantic and Dixie, the same consultants that they're referring to, it's an effort, just like Delray, to slow people down, so then they, of course, stop at those businesses or slow down and stay at those businesses. I'm not saying that a downtown is a terrible idea. I'm not saying it's not a terrible idea, but I think we perhaps were misguided as how things have happened, because this project was something that was dreamed up a long time ago, and it's not what is. We haven't actually come back to what the residents want to do and how we've grown as a city. I'm not, like I said, I'm not against development, I'm not against downtown, but I am very wary about the being sold a bill of goods that we cannot pay in the long run, that it's not going to actually serve the residents of Pompano Beach. I think that, and I'm using that terminology specifically because these same consultants have been the ones that have dealt with the other areas that are currently, they're empty. I think it's City Walk in West Palm, and in Del Rey as well. So that's their model. They're going to stand to make a lot of money, and I'm not for it.
So, real quickly, if you were elected, yes or no, if you were elected and there was a vote that came up to kind of bring Atlantic Boulevard back to what it was, would you vote yes or no on that?
Well, I don't know that there would ever be a vote about that, but if there was, I think it's very difficult for us to say that we're going to say yes, 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 yes to all these new high-rises and bigger buildings and more residents that need to travel east and west. I have one resident that I know, he has to go to work, and he says he cusses the city every time he drives by and he's stuck in that. I would vote absolutely. If it was available to change, I would 100% say let's widen that baby. And let's find other areas for traffic calming. There's an appropriate place. There's an appropriate place for traffic calming, and there's an appropriate place for creating that foot traffic, slowing that traffic down, but there's also an appropriate place to get people home to eat with their family. Or to work.
Thank you. So now I'm going to open it up to audience questions. Do you want to?
You know, it's interesting that my opponent in her Sun Sentinel endorsement interview said straight up she would put a moratorium on all new projects in Pompano. how she thinks she's going to be able to work with consultants and developers and anyone to make anything happen when she's coming across as completely anti-everything is a curiosity to me. We are talking about private businesses, in this case, in downtown, a private business bringing $1.5 billion to create a whole district in our city to bring in jobs, to bring in retail, restaurants, a walkability factor. And if you've seen the renderings, it's a 70-acre Meisner Park type looking thing. And this is the type of development that has allowed us, that I was able to this year, after pushing for it for the last 5 years, get a reduction in our millage because of the added revenue coming in from the valuation of the city and things coming in. I fought with staff to make sure that we were giving our residents a return on their investment. And you can laugh, you can pull up the meetings from the budget workshop where I proposed this.
It's like somebody giving
Ma'am,
Where I
let's let her
proposed
talk.
it and was able to get city staff to agree that they could handle it and get the rest of the commission to vote for it. Because at the end of the day, each of us is one vote. That was why sunshine was important. We cannot talk with each other prior to that vote because we're each separated from each other that way. But you have to be able to work with the developers, work with the consultants, work with staff, work with your other, and then propose everything to your other commissioners in a way in which it goes through. And so, yes, I stand by the downtown projects. I think a few years from now, it'll be just like the beach. And those consultants on the beach, where Beach House is, and that started off our whole restaurant industry, were the ones who said no. The first people to come through, 7-Eleven and a wing shop. And they said, no, that's not the idea of what we're doing. And I've worked on that beach project with them as well to keep the vision of what we want. And we don't just go with everything they say. When the event center wanted to come in, I fought against that one because it was too big. The residents didn't want it, didn't fit. They wanted to put a bar nightclub in where How You Brewin' is. And I said, no, that does not fit. That's not what the residents want. The residents want is decent coffee. We don't have any. We got in How You Brewin'. There's ways in which you can work with everybody, and that's the only way government moves forward. We look, not to get too national, we'll wrap it up too. You look at the national where everyone is, at each other's throats on everything, and nothing gets done. If you want to get things done, you need to be able to work with everyone and make it move forward.
We're gonna wrap this part up. I'm gonna open it up now to questions from the audience. We've got a bit of a microphone shortage, so please state your question very loudly. We'll start with you, ma'am.
I just want you to know, I worked 30 years in Pompano, right? And since you've come into office, Pompano is beautiful. It was the sleeping giant for a long time, decades. And since you've come into office, it's tree-lined, the beaches are gorgeous, the new businesses that have come in. Really, you have to look at everything as a whole.
Is there a question?
It's beautiful. No, I just wanted to give her a compliment.
All right, please only ask questions.
Thank you.
Sir?
I think my voice will do well. On your affordable income housing, say like Mela and the one that just changed its name here at 4th Street, who is policing that to make sure that they are keeping those rents in line? I mean, I know the ones that are affordable at Mela are not the top units overlooking that you can see the ocean. They're the ones looking at the employee lot at Publix and the dumpsters. But I want to know, once they move in and they have a certain requirement of how many people they do, who enforces that?
That's all covered with their business tax receipts. As a business, they are submitting what their breakdowns are every year, and our people and the county people who run the affordable housing keep eyes on that like hawks.
Okay, and just one other second thing. For the charter school, here you're building a Waldorf Astoria and a Ritz-Carlton. The people that can afford these are empty nesters that are coming down from the north, that are childless. And you're going to put a school in here. To me, that makes absolutely no sense. What makes more sense is the reading skills in Pompano of 1 through K through 3 are awful, just awful. When I ran for office, it was the one thing that we constantly saw, and my wife led me on this, and it hasn't gotten much better either. So what we need to do is work on the schools we have here, but the people that are coming in, these big units, I mean, and look at Saludo that's going up. You talk about affordable housing, that guy had a chunk of land that there were, yeah, they weren't the prettiest places along the beach, but they were affordable housing for some people. Now they're all gone, and he's building up his whole land. So affordable housing, all of this, only rich people are moving down here right now, and only rich people can afford to stay.
Well, I do know, I can respond. Now, as far as the Ritz-Carlton and the Waldorf, the city is not building those. Those are private investors who have come to the city because they see economic opportunity. The tax revenues that will be brought in from those units are what we will be able to use throughout the city to build up infrastructure, redo roads, drainage, support a charter school if possible. All these things come from that revenue that's going to be coming in. And I have to say, you know, I am involved with a lot of other organizations throughout the county and state. You know, you look at our neighbors, the north and south. Both Florida by the Sea and Lighthouse Point have major infrastructure projects that they need to move forward with, and are both looking at either raising their, or have actually raised their millage rate or issuing assessments, because they don't have these development opportunities that are bringing in a $10 billion increase in the valuation of Pompano. As Marty Chiar last showed us, he congratulated the city of Pompano on what we've been doing here, because that is how we are able to try and keep it lower for our residents, our full-time residents who are homesteaded and who are seeing equity in their properties, while bringing in the necessarily tax dollars to do more things for the city and keep it great. Now, as far as the schools, I agree with you. I would love to see reading and math be brought up to more priority. That's going to be the Broward County School Board. The benefit of us having a charter school is that we would be able to dictate more the curriculum and how we're handling it. As far as the public schools, Broward County School Board calls the shots. We support them, we work with them. I'm on a third amendment to the interlocal agreement with them board, trying to work out some of the problems that they're having. But again, at the end of the day, public schools would fall under the school board. A charter school we would be able to control better.
I just want to add this one bit to the development. First, I want to just address the moratorium comment. I actually said in my interview, the video one, I said, okay, I typed the wrong word, and I said what I wanted us to do was take a break, pause for a minute, reevaluate all the things that have been rubber stamped yes, to make sure that we can support what has been already approved before we continue to change zoning, before we continue to give additional variances. It's not necessarily no to developers. There's some developments that are absolutely beautiful and they definitely need to be warranted. They're definitely warranted. We need to beautify the area. We need to add value to the area. The second part about that is Waldorf Astoria and Ritz-Carlton, great additions, but those private investors, developers get paid first. They make the investment. They get paid first. So this idea that we're going to raise the tax base and everything else, they get their money first, and we're not promising money right out the get-go. It's going to take us a number of years before we actually see a return on that investment, and then we have to actually see what that investment is, because remember, when you have additional people, you have additional issues. There's additional, and like you said, there's retirees or people who are investing in the area that are not. They still have cars, they still are going to be using the roads, they're still going to be using the bridges, they're still going to be in the city. There's still going to be costs associated for firefighters, for additional resources on the city. So that's one part. And then the second thing is the millage rate, since it keeps coming up. In 2018, when you were elected, the first year you were in office, you voted for a millage rate increase. And then again in 2022, you voted for another millage rate increase. So far it was up 2.6%, and now as of this little lowering on election year, no less, you've still raised the millage rate 2% overall. So it's very convenient, the math, but it's a fun math, I guess, during election.
Waiting for the microphone.
Thank you. First off, wait, no, I'm going to respond to this.
Okay.
Because, first off, when the developer gets their CO, they hit the tax rolls. So whether or not the building is empty or full, they're paying taxes. So that's first off, so they don't get to wait it out. Now, as far as the millages and the increase, the main increase came from the fire assessment, not the millage. And that was done because we have to, certain things are beyond us. We had to use the COVID data in order to do the fire assessment. I have to tell you, and I held it together during the meeting, I actually broke down after that meeting because I hated doing that. But safety is first and foremost. In my opinion, a city's government, first things they need, roads, safety. These are infrastructure, the water, the pipes. This is what is our biggest focus. So when the firefighters came in and they have to do their studies the way they have to do them with the data set they have to use, and we all had to vote for it, we moved forward with that. And then with the stipulation that as soon as the data set cleared over to the years that are normal business, we would rerun the data set and readjust the fire assessment fees to reflect that.
Mike?
Okay, I got it. My first question, because I could probably come up with about 15 questions for you. The first question for both of you is a simple one. And I'm going to ask it while Beverly Perkins is still here, because she can agree with me. How, you talked, Andrea, and both of you know about the western section, gentrification, you brought it up. We're going to spend close to $2 billion on Martin Luther King Boulevard. The main reason why we're getting rid of a lane on Dixie and Atlantic is the traffic calming. So eventually, we want people to eat over there. You're going to build high rises. Now, we had a meeting east. Are you listening? We had a meeting east where there was almost all white people all agreeing on what should be done in the black area. All the whites were it was about 50-50. They were, this is great, this is great. But then when we had the meeting in the northwest area, no white people were there except one, correct? Which was me. And 100% of the blacks do not want this area gentrified. They do not want it. The only ones that were for it don't even live there. They're what's called city cheerleaders. You know who they are. I know who they are. She knows who they are. But other than that, why do you think as commissioner or as future commissioner, who do you think you are to tell the blacks what you're going to do in their neighborhood when nearly 100% of them are against it?
We're representing District 1, so it's irresponsible for us to tell anybody what to do in their district without consulting the residents who actually live in that district and how it's going to affect their daily life. So I would want to listen while sitting on the dais. I'd want to listen to the residents that are affected directly by the impact that development has, and then my heart would be to side with what they're telling me. Just as the same as in District 1, when residents come to District 1, to meetings for issues related to District 1, the same sort of courtesy is extended by other commissioners to vote for or against a project based on the residents who actually do live in that space and do live and work in that area and own property, work there, etc. So I don't think that we're just, again, like she said, we're one voice, right? And the one voice needs to be respectful of the residents over the developers and the voice of the people who are living there, as opposed to some grandiose plans.
The main answer is we may each represent our district, but we all represent one city. It is one tax bundle that we all pay into, that it all comes out of. The northwest area that we're looking at developing, yes, it's been in the plans for decades now to develop this area. Started by a mayor that was out of the Northwest, is one of the ones who was one of the pioneers on this entire idea. So there are individuals in the Northwest who are in support of developing the Northwest to not just be, there was a great BSO operation recently, the Operation Trigger Lock, where they had 139 arrests over a weekend. Is that what that area deserves, or do they deserve a chance for upward mobility and jobs and vocational training and be able to raise their families somewhere safe? I think so. And as far as the beach district, first off, there's no passport check between districts. Everyone can come enjoy the beach. Everyone comes out to Old Town Untapped now that we've started doing Old Town, which was nothing before. Everyone should be able to come out and enjoy every district that's around. Everyone can go out to the casino in District 5. Everyone's going to be able to come out to the downtown in District 4. This is one Pompano, and I think it's incredibly important to move forward that way. And as far as, and that's how it works all together. And as far as, listening to the residents of a district, I come back to the McNabb projects. There's 2 commissioners that are not in my district who keep trying to sunset the funding mechanism to finish the McNabb house. So it's not that you still have your own opinion on the dais, but at the end of the day, this whole city is all of our cities. We're not restricted to our own district. Our money doesn't only stay in our district when we pay taxes, and the money that goes out doesn't only stay in our district, nor should it.
So in essence, a commissioner that was born and raised there, that knows the people there, none of you, anybody in here, goes in this area, hardly ever. So basically, what she says and what the majority of the people in her district say, you just say, the hell with you. We're going to do whatever.
All right, let's go on the next question. Ma'am?
First of all, I'd like to say that, you represent the entire city, but you represent District 1, and you're supposed to listen to the constituents in District 1. Well, I'm a constituent in District 1, and I came before you and the commission for years on the project 1508 North Ocean Boulevard, and it is being basically developed against all our wishes. I collected 1,395 signatures opposing that development. People got up in droves at the meetings and spoke against it. You voted for it. You voted for it.
Do you have a question, ma'am?
I do have a question. Now, it's rearing its ugly head again. The developers signed an agreement with the city to improve the North Ocean Beach Park. Well, guess what? Now, they want to take over the North Ocean Beach Park and make it look like it's their front yard. And they're working with the city right now to have private beach access and a walkway right through the park to the development, out to the beach. Now, I want to know, are you going to stand up against them, or are you going to green light like you do every other private developer? Because it's been happening way too much in this city, and we're sick of it.
So I'm going to answer that on a couple different things. First off, there were people who were upset about development, and there were people who were gung-ho for the development. Now, as far as the signatures that were presented to us in a quasi-judicial hearing, although there was a claim for 1,300 plus signatures, what you gave us was a top sheet with 5 signatures and a ream of blank paper.
Guess what? I was called a liar about that. I have the signatures with me tonight, and you come and take a look at them.
You didn't present them at the time of the vote.
No, you come and take a look at them, and you can apologize to me, because I know that I have them right here in my bag. So you come and take a look, Angela.
Ma'am, what was presented the night of the vote?
Listen, I got up at that vote, and I said, this is a visual representation. I said that. You could go back to the
In a quasi-judicial hearing, we have to go with the evidence that is presented. As was explained to you, that's why you have to swear in a quasi-judicial. And you can, I'm just saying what I was given. What I was given. Anyways, as far as what the developers agreed to, you can't do anything.
I gave a visual representation. That's what I said.
All right, let's
There were 336 signatures presented before the Planning and Zoning Board that should have followed that development, as well as a signed affidavit that was presented that night. So don't tell me
that is what was presented,
and they were supposed to be public record.
And as far
where are they?
I'll answer the next question. In that meeting too, the developers had already committed to a minimum $300,000 improvement to a park that I went by the other day. It's dilapidated, no one goes there. We heard a lot from the residents about. I was there last week.
all let's calm down, everybody.
We heard a lot from the residents about the especially the restrooms, and especially the way in which they face.
The city should kick them out.
Let's let the commissioner answer the question, please.
And as far as talking to developers, which I have spoken with them, of course they're going to want the beach. Why not? But I told them specifically. You know what I said to them when they told me they wanted to do this thing on the beach? I said, you should have bought beachfront.
Guess what? That property that is North Ocean Park was given to the city in perpetuity by the woman that had to be a public beach park.
And as the city, we are not even allowed to give it away without.
That is true. That is true.
I noticed. And we are not allowed, as the city, to give away any park or beach without a public referendum. It is not a conversation that is happening or being entertained. Even if the developers are wanting it, it is not being entertained. It is misinformation that's being spread around because it's an election year. It is not being entertained. We are not giving the beach to anybody. And as far as the park renovations, yeah, they're going to make it look beautiful. They're going to make it look better. They've spoken with the surf camp. They're going to expand the pavilion. They're doing a lot of things that are all to the benefit of us, because it's fully public, on their own dime. They're looking to spend right now, last estimate I heard was closer to $3 million. That's $3 million in taxpayer dollars that we are not spending there, but getting all the benefits for everyone in this room to go and enjoy.
That's what they want to do. It won't be a beautiful natural park anymore. It'll look like a manicured front yard for them. And that's what they want. But not the residents want.
All right, let's let Ms. Spesic answer that question.
So this is something
Please, everybody.
This specific project was something that I became aware of when I was campaigning, and I ended up going to North Ocean Park and meeting residents, and they had expressed to me as their concern regarding this beach park. The reason why, and so I'm a researcher, so I like to do research, and so what I did was I found out that what was presented, and I reached out to the people. I watched all the videos from the city commission meetings twice, and specifically related to this project. Now, what's interesting is that the way that the city works is you have documentation attached to each project. So, at the planning and zoning meeting in December of 2017, Ms. Jeannie, I'll merge with the spell, I won't be able to say your last name, but Jeannie submitted, the beginning was 336 signatures with the city petition, and it is stamped by the city with a sign and signed by the city that they actually received this as part of this project. So this was the beginning, and it even says on here that we will continue to collect signatures. This should have been attached to that project from day one. I could never find it anywhere. She had a copy, thank God for that. As far as the signatures that were collected, and I don't want to get too much in this, but as far as the signatures that were collected, here it is. Here's a copy of what was presented that night, which again, miraculously, was not part of city record, and I'm not sure why. But it has 2 signatures, not 5. But it says basically it's an affidavit signed by a notary that it's personally came and appeared before me, that has 1,395 paper petition signatures and 232 online petition signatures in opposition to the rezoning of the property of the community allocation development. Dated 23rd day of July 2019. So she does have a copy of it. It should have been city record, and so that's why people are pissed. And by the way, I will say this to you as well, related to the park. I think it's wonderful that the developers wanted to add money to the park, but the problem is the way that the development agreement was written, the city manager can sign off with final approval on that park without public input. So we have already been to the city commission meeting, and we have been asking them to please let the public review the park. The images that they have presented so far to the development review committee show it looking like an extension of their exact property. They show it, the pavilion is gone. It's now a, what do you call those little, like a pergola, thank you. It's like a pergola with some with some swinging rocking chairs. There is active use at that park on a daily basis. every weekend, there's meetings held there, Saturdays and Sundays. There's people, there's families who are using that. In the diagrams, it basically looks like it's not going to be a public park, even though it will be publicly available. And from the last thing we heard is they're trying to change things. Now, again, Ms. McGee did say that they can change things via referendum. Referendums require one meeting. So if you miss it, sorry about your luck.
That would be a public vote, a public referendum. Oh, I said, no, but it'd be a public referendum. That would be a public vote to dispose of beach or park property. And as far as, yes, the park is going to look very nice. And it's going to be so open to the public that they're also having a cafe that's open to the public. So when you have your meetings there, you'll be able to go to their public cafe and eat them in a public park because it will be public. And so, yes, I'm excited for an upgraded park that looks a lot better and that I can enjoy whenever I want as well. That's at the level of what's being built on the beach and how that's somehow not good. And I have to say, I've talked to so many more people who have moved to Pompano because of what we're doing here, or have grown up in Pompano and are coming back because of what we're doing here, because they love the changes. So to say that we're not listening or we're not hearing, not in this room, and maybe, but if you go out and you're wandering around on the beaches and you talk to people who are out and about, they love what we're doing here. And that's why we've been listed in Forbes as one of the top destinations to move. TripAdvisor has us as one of the top destinations to visit by reviews. Yahoo Finance put us as, and this is not just my subjective thinking, this is an objective value, and we're listening. And again, my biggest thing is I want to lower our overall tax rates. Do we have to invest in order to be able to see the return and not end up in a situation like Lighthouse Point and Largo Lake Sea? We did. We also invest in our infrastructure. We're doing drainage. Over in Harbor Village, we're slated to have a whole, I've been trying to fight for asphalt for years now. But first we have to dig up, we're funded for the drainage. Riverside Drive, we're getting funded for the drainage so then we can fix that up. All of these things, the cost of construction, the cost of everything has gone up. And the only way to offset that is to make sure our valuation is also increasing and that we're having opportunities for residents, for businesses, for everyone here in Pompano to continue to enjoy it, and that's the smartest way to get it done.
Thank you. Let's do another question. I'll get you next.
Okay, so I really appreciate all the revitalization that's going on, and when my husband wanted me to move to Pompano, I didn't want to move here because I've lived in other cities here in Broward County, and like the story was always, like you don't want to move to Dania Beach, you don't want to move to Pompano, and or you don't want to move to Dayton, because they were just not considered really beautiful or nice places. But since I moved here, I'm very happy to see that it's being improved. But my question is, what do either of you plan to do for current residents that live not in condos or not along the beach, but that live in District 1, that live in the neighborhood? Because there are a lot of people, we don't all live in a condo. And we're not, and a lot of us have lived here, like I've lived here now for over 20 years. A lot of us have lived here for years. A lot of people, okay, so there's a lot of, incentive to bring people into Pompano, new people into Pompano to move to the condos, and people that like to go around and, entertain and, be entertained, and, the new restaurants and this, and spend all their time on the beach because maybe that's, they don't have a lot of other things going on. But for those of us that are in the neighborhoods year round and we've been here, what's the plan to do for Harbor Village, for example? Fortunately, I live east of 26th Avenue. If you drive around west of 26th Avenue, really feel kind of sorry for the people because it's still a very downtrodden area. It looks beautiful. Pompano looks great when you come down Atlantic, close your eyes for a while and get to the beach, and it's beautiful again. But what about the people that are living in the neighborhoods? What do you plan to do for us? Because a lot of these people in these new big houses are paying a lot of money in taxes, right? Probably a lot more than a lot of people in the condos. And so and also just my other point is right now when I invite friends over to my house, I don't want them to come down the 14th Street exit way into 26 Harbor Village, because it's a real eyesore. And to me, a lot of the areas in the neighborhood after they did the initial landscaping along 26th Avenue. It's not maintained, and I don't think, like, the roads, the whole neighborhood, everything, I think, like, what are the plans to do for those of us that don't live along the beach? That's my question.
So I've spent a lot of time in those neighborhoods. One, I grew up in Harbor Village, but then I've also been walking through the neighborhoods quite a bit and knocking through doors. And I can say that I've met with the residents in the areas that have all expressed the same thing. In Harbor Village, I remember about 30-something years ago when the sidewalks initially came in and that whole thing started. On 4th Street, around 4th Street and 23rd Terrace, I believe, I had one lady tell me that several pets have been killed. She actually got clipped herself by a car that was flying down the road. I know that just south of Atlantic, at Flanagan's, there was an older woman that was recently killed just trying to go to Publix and crossing the street. There was another man who was recently hit because there's not enough light on that south neighborhood. He was just, I hope he's okay. I think last I heard he was in the hospital. But he was actually hit and hurt fairly seriously. I think it's important that when we're looking at not just digging up the roads and the infrastructure, of course that needs to be done, but the paving, I think it's important that we look at maybe using some of the swales that we have potentially to add sidewalks or add some safety features, because you're right, it's beautiful along certain areas where it's been developed, or there's things that have happened, or we've modernized things, but for the residents who live here, we need to make sure we're doing things for the residents first. And that's the other thing, again, going back to this McNabb Park project, the development order expired on that as well, and I love saving historic things, but the price point to me, and when I have another guy who actually has a condo, but he's just on Riverside Drive, he says he takes his life into his hands because his wife is in a wheelchair. He can't go up and down Riverside Drive. He's lived there for over 30 years, and he says it's never been paved. So as far as he can remember. So these are issues. I feel like we need to take care of the residents who are living here first before we start new projects. So we need to one by minute.
So going into that, so we'll start with Riverside Drive. Riverside Drive actually just got funded from the state for a stormwater improvement project that we've been waiting on for a while. Again, everything does come down to money at an extent to make sure that we can afford to do it without just jacking up taxes. So we just got approved for that, so that construction is actually going to be started. With the paving in Harbor Village, I had been fighting on that for years. What ended up happening was a few years back, many years back, there was a product called micro paving, where they came in and they did a micro pave over the asphalt. It was supposed to last longer, be prettier, all this stuff. It wore away within a few years. We were not scheduled, we weren't even on the 8-year master plan for paving in Harbor Village. And I kept bringing it up. We are now, our CIP is starting in early 2025. They're doing drainage projects to make sure we can drain, and then that will be followed by a re-asphalt of the entire Harbor Village area. So it is coming. I've known it, I know you live right down the street from my parents. It's bad over there, especially on the west side of Harbor Drive. And yes, I've been hounding our building and grounds and public works about it for way longer than it should have taken, but that is the case. As far as sidewalks, there are many areas that, Riverside Drive is a very difficult one because a lot of their driveways, their parking lots are where a sidewalk would go. So we have people working on trying to figure out how we can have a continuous sidewalk as long as we can on one side, then jump over to the other side. The side streets for Harbor Village, some of that comes down to, again, the parking layout, and then even if we want to put in a sidewalk on a residential road, you have to have over 50% of the residents on that road also want it. And a lot of times people have their landscaping, have their way they'd like it to be, and don't want it. When you get into lighting, District 1 has a lot of lights. District 4, District 2, we've been working on the lights in those districts. Again, we have to make sure that we're not just flooding all the projects all at once. And actually in District 2, there's an issue where the lights they put in are super, super bright, and those residents are like, take them out. We don't want these ones. So it's a lot about balance and making sure that we're not overwhelming our tax base while trying to address everything in as timely manner as possible. So I agree with you on those. I've been pushing for them for years. We are seeing moving forward on a few of them in the next fiscal year.
Thank you. Ma'am, you have a question?
Okay, good. My name is Kay McGinn, and I was on the city commission years ago. And I'm very glad to be here, and I want to thank you all. I know the work you put in with Beverly and Tom and Julia back here, and I've been on the commission, so I think you do a great job. But my question regards parks, and there again, with McNair Park and the old house that's on it, it's not an antique, the place really looks terrible. The fencing has been up for years now. And to take away a park that had been a green space and could have been improved by the city, which it wasn't, really disenfranchises the city, the community people that live there. It used to be a tot lot, but of course we have homeless and we've had some problems there, not big problems, but the city could have done more to keep it. Instead of putting that house on it that looks a mess, and it was only done to accommodate a developer and a family that wanted the credit for trying to save some money, and moving it, spending millions, and now more millions are going to be sunk into a restaurant. We don't need any more restaurants in Pompano. We have plenty of restaurants right now. And what we need is parks and open space. We also need to consider the term human level development. We're looking at these new buildings that are coming in, they're 30, 40-story high. What is this anyway? Why? Don't you want human scale development? Are we going to really just drop out? We can't see the beach anymore because of the restaurants that are there. So we shouldn't really even call this Pompano Beach. We should just call it Pompano, the city of Pompano. And now I just heard that you're going to put a cafe up at the park up at 16th Street. That's another thing. You have to consider the parking. Where's the parking going for the cafe? Well, it'll be in the park, and that's eliminating the park again. But I really think this whole thing should be re-examined. We don't need more restaurants. That antique house should be taken away, removed completely, and brought back, and a park brought back. And as far as the botanical gardens, that was just a ruse put out by the CRA advisory board. That, oh great, we all got to get behind a botanical garden. You can't put a botanical garden on 2.5 acres. A botanical garden needs a lot of acreage, so forget that. But to have it landscaped well, if you want to spend $20,000, $20 million, I understand, landscape it and do it, but that isn't a good use of money either. But anyway, I'd like to hear how you feel about parks as well, because it's very important in the neighborhood. Go ahead.
So the quick one is parking at 16th Street has been accommodated in the design of the building's parking. They're also going to be redoing the parking for public parking, so there will be excess public parking available over there than there is today. Because that was very important to me as well when that came forward. Now going to McNabb, most people that I do talk to and that come to me are excited for the restaurant, are excited for the farmer's market, are excited for the event space. There's people already talking about wanting to do weddings there. You know, the whole idea is to have a botanical garden that is open to the public. It is a public botanical garden, no fees, you can just go there. And again, has it taken longer than any of us would have loved? Sure, because right after we moved the house, again, COVID shut down everything. So it was almost a blessing in a little way because we discovered that there was enough space to add a wine cellar feature underneath the house, which I think is going to be very cool. We're also, you know, I get the idea of wanting to get things done quickly. That's great. But for me, I'd much rather get things done right, especially if we're investing taxpayer dollars. So one of the other holdups in the restaurant over there is the restaurant group that we have been talking with is the same. Are there a group that specifically work in historic restaurant venues? That is their niche, and they are the ones who are partnered right now with the Maikai and doing the construction there to bring the Maikai back. That has taken longer than they expected. We've been doing infrastructure in the meantime. We've had to run out, you know, sewer, water, electric, foundation work, fixing up the house. You know, Pompano doesn't have that many historic buildings around. We weren't built that way in the day. So I do think it's a beautiful thing that we were able to save this house and create a botanical garden. As far as the size, if you got into, I thought it the same as you in the beginning, like how is this gonna fit in this little area? And they said, go down to South Beach and check out their botanical garden. And I lived in Miami for college. I didn't even know there was a botanical garden on South Beach. It's right next to the convention center. And you would think that it'd be noisy and crowded or whatever, but you get in there and it's a beautiful green oasis in the middle of one of the busiest areas of the beach that you can just get lost in for as long as you want. And so I do think that this botanical garden that we're going to be moving forward with, we're saving the tree, it's going to be accessible, is going to be a place where you do yoga in the park, maybe Shakespeare in the park someday. We are having a kids area where they can play, but we're trying to make it more beautiful. We're having little workshop areas where you can have, cooking lessons, herb lessons, all these different things. So I do think, especially, and they're also going to have meeting rooms there, which, as you know, we don't have a community center on the east in District 1. There isn't one. So the idea that our residents have a place where their clubs can go have meetings and meet up or have birthday parties, have weddings in a beautiful atmosphere is, I think, amazing. I also think at this point in the game, and we have had public meetings to get opinions into it, we're going to have more public meetings. I think it's amazing. And most people I've heard from can't wait for another restaurant. I hear about the restaurants over on the Intercoastal, and everyone wants to know when they're going to open. Now that's a private venture. That's up to them. But again, listening to as many people as I can, talking with people who stop me when I'm out or in Publix or in my elevator or at the board meetings or wherever I am, I get the overwhelming sensation that people love what we've been doing and are excited for the new stuff.
All right. If you've talked to anybody, which I have, a lot of people, they're very concerned about the number of people sleeping in the park right now, and less about a beautiful botanical garden. The sheer, I just can't wrap my head around it like any more than I think it should be. The sheer cost of this. I hear all this beautiful flowery language about we're going to do this beautiful thing, we're going to do this beautiful thing, we're going to do this beautiful thing. At what point, and I'm not talking about a specific forum, but at what point did somebody get to tell us what we want, right? Instead of, at what point were we actually really involved in this? Or is it the people who stand to make money from this project, or the people who invest? Who's telling us what we want and what we need? So I'm struggling with that. The green space, and that kind of goes back to our sidewalks and our infrastructure. We have an incredible amount of money being dumped into this historical house. By the way, there's been a sort of an issue with a clean title to that park, and to change how its use is. So there's sort of an issue going on behind the scenes there as well. So there's that, and then there's all this money that we could potentially have already spent to fix the things in District 1 that need to be fixed and needed to be fixed way before you were elected the first time, which was like 8 years ago? I don't know. 2018, 6 years ago? 2018? So I just feel, and I really think that we need to come back to the residents, and you've said it a couple of times, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but you said that people will stop you in Publix or people will stop you in your elevator, and that may be true, but the overwhelming thing that I have heard has been the exact opposite of what you're telling me. I'm sorry.
A lot of what I know is because, yes, I was born here and lived my vast majority of my life here. You went to high school here and have recently come back. I get it. And you talk to people. We all talk to people. This has been decades in the making of when Pompano didn't have anything, when the beach was just a parking lot for the most part, before we started moving forward. The reality is that first off, as far as the money going to the McNabb House, which would come from the CRA, this goes back to different cards, is that money could not be put towards asphalting the city properties. So they're different pots, different cards. The benefit from the McNabb House goes beyond beautification. When the restaurateurs come in, they are leasing that space from us because the city, again, is not disposing of the property. The event hall space, we profit share into that. anything that happens, art exhibitions or galas that occur in that space, city profit shares in. And so over the years, we'll make back our investment into the space, again, being a better location for the rest of the city. And so yes, I have talked to people here my whole life. They talk to my parents, they talk to my sister, they talk to our uncles, they talk to all sorts of people. And I talk to the business owners, I talk to HOA boards, I've talked to neighborhoods when I go out to them. And yes, the vast majority of people that I speak with love what has been happening to Pompano, love seeing their property values increase. And a lot of what we've done here is partially probably why you came back and invested in Pompano, as opposed to Fort Lauderdale or Miami, where you were living.
Let's do one more question.
Right here.
I have a suggestion. Can I give a suggestion first?
Sure.
My suggestion, because I can see the back of his head, Tom McMahon was a commissioner, he's running for commissioner, you're running for commissioner, you're running for commissioner. There's a wastewater project that's gonna be going down Riverside Drive, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
A drainage.
The drainage project. I went through that. In my neighborhood, everybody that's running for commissioner, I would email the city manager when you get home to make sure everybody's property, any damage done to their property must get fixed back to original how it was before, because I took a beating from that job. I had damage to my motor vehicle. It cost me thousands and thousands of dollars, and all the contractor said was, I didn't see anything. So I would suggest all of you that are running, make sure that the people are taken care of on Riverside Drive, because the contractor, whoever it is, I'm not sure who it is, they don't give a crap.
Very fair point.
Ma'am?
Yes. So you mentioned safety is very important to you, and it is to me. And I was very curious because there's a gas station on Atlantic Boulevard, right by the bridge. And they converted it to a restaurant called the Flamingo Seafood. Lasted about 6 months. I think you brokered the deal.
No, that was me.
Oh, okay.
I was one of the owners, and the guy who was
So
the
what I
owner.
would like to know is why was that allowed to be open without a health certificate?
Without a health certificate?
Yes,
We had our CO, we had everything taken care of.
I'd like to see it.
Go ahead and do it.
When it was open, I'd like to see the date of
Right,
that
the
certificate.
date of that certificate
And why
that
is
you're
the gas
probably.
station underneath
It
a
was,
restaurant of food? That shouldn't be.
it was
shown.
remediated in 1999 when Amkin first purchased the property. That's all private land, all the way from St. Martin's to Flanagan's. Flanagan's bought Brendan's Pub, which they're going to be moving to. There's no schedule on the development for it. I don't work for the developer, but I remember when it was a text.
Well, it should have not been a restaurant at all, because I saw the paperwork for it, and so
Oh, well,
it's
it was
not,
just leased
it's
again.
not safe.
It was just
It is
leased
not
again.
safe, and they
There are
lasted,
no-
what, how long were they in business?
Yeah, the guy
They
actually.
defaulted on all their loans.
Yeah, I know, it's hard for me to tell you. Unfortunately, there's a lot of criminal behavior that happened behind the scenes, so it's being uncovered now.
Yep, of course.
Very good.
I
But
just
those
like
tanks were taken
I wanna
out.
see that, I wanna see that.
I might just ask that
May I? You have a question?
I ate there, and I.
This will be the last question.
I got
Please, everybody.
They put up medians on A1A on the south side of Atlantic Boulevard, showing us these beautiful trees that are gonna be planted. It's been a year. It's only sod here with barricade signs in front of it. When are we gonna get the trees? That's number one. Number two, have you been to Indian Mount Park lately, which is a historic part of Pompano? Do you know how the plaques are so dilapidated? You can barely read them? That park is not taken care of. It gets the grass cut every 3 weeks. The grass is all the way up to here before it gets cut, and it's forgotten about. So these are two questions and concerns that I have.
That's the first time anyone's brought up the plaque issue, but I'll bring that up to
Well,
Public Works.
This is a beautiful park in your district.
Well-
I'm surprised you don't visit it.
I visited it.
If you would have visited 16th Street Park, you would have realized what a beautiful park it is and exactly how many residents are there regularly. All of a sudden, you're gonna do the same with Indian Mount. Oh, the homeless here, this is here, but you don't go.
I was at 16th Street Park literally last Saturday.
Last time you were at Indian Mount, it says it's
Indian
a
Mountain-
historic park in your district, and you would have noticed the plaques.
I have been to Indian Mountain, it probably has been a few months.
A few months?
Yeah.
These have been, okay, also,
Wait,
since the last hurricane, all the tags on the trees that identify the types of trees that were donated have all been gone. I've raised this concern quite a few times. No response, ignored. So,
may I ask
go visit the park.
May I ask with who you raised the concern?
I'm not gonna answer that, but it's with a few people within the city. One is in charge of landscaping.
Okay, well, I would encourage you and anyone else who notices anything.
And he was forwarding it to, again, you said.
I was not sent anything on
You
Indian
said you
Mountain
were
Park.
there a few months ago. So did you not, what did you see when you went there? Did you look at the plaques?
I was literally, I was checking out on whether or not it was flooding is what I was looking
So
for.
you didn't look at the beauty of the park, you didn't look at any of the plaques, you didn't look at the trees. You just blindly went and looked at who was flooding and said,
Yes, I was concerned at the time as to whether or not there was flooding, whether or not we needed to address that as more of a safety issue. But it's, as I've said from the dais multiple times, and quite honestly with most of the other parks, people who notice things, we're all in this city together. This is all of our home, and when there was issues at Lake Santa Barbara Park, someone sent me an email, and I forwarded along to city management, to public parks, to the proper way to get staff to address it as quickly as possible. Now that I know about Indian Mountain Park, I will address it with staff and get them on it.
and when are we gonna get the trees in the meetings?
That is an FDOT project for the entire, so Florida Department of Transportation, I will get back to you with, update if I can get it from them, when I can get it from them. As soon as I hear back from FDOT.
So next.
Well, no, we actually have a very good working relationship with FDOT, but this is something important to realize with a lot of projects throughout the city. There are many things that we would love to snap our fingers and get done. But there are many places that within the city are either state mandated or like with Ellsworth Park, that's why my answer was Ellsworth Park. The Florida Inland Navigation District manages a whole chunk of that. We have Hillsborough Inlet District in District 1, that's abuts District 1, that manages those issues that happen in the inlet. We have to address maritime law when it comes to bridges. We have state roads, county roads, federal roads. There is an insane amount of bureaucracy in the government, which you guys probably all know. And there's many different routes. And listen, as someone running for election, I should be up here telling you each exactly what you want to hear. But I don't do that. I try and tell you what is real, what is doable, and how we can best move forward as a city responsibly and well. We have to run, you're not going to run your household by just doing everything all at once. You do things as you can afford them, as they need to be done, and that's how that works.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. Well, I know it's getting late, so yes, parks are important and maintaining them is important. I think same thing, but going back to this before I get into parks, I just want to address one thing about living here and coming back. Everybody's aware that we're related, and everybody knows I've been coming here since I was very, 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 very young, okay, born, and likely before then as well. We have family here, and I have known and loved Pompano, and I came back specifically for family and because I wanted to have this sense of community. I did not come back because I think it's great what we're doing in Pompano. So, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. Okay, there is.
All right, let's.
I'm not done yet. If you're gonna tell me, if she's gonna tell me why I moved back, I'm just gonna explain the reasons why I actually did.
All right, please, everybody, please. We're not here to talk about the.
I'm not here to talk about family. I'm just saying that's one of the reasons I moved back, because I love the community and I love the area where I live. I love the beach. I love everything about South Florida, but I do love Pompano Beach because I do have history here. So that's one. Two, thank you so much. And and another thing.
She's lying.
Please,
All right, now let's continue to the other thing. You know, so back on track, please, everybody. Back on track. The reason why I moved here was because I love the area, and it is the reason why I decided to run for commissioner was a very difficult decision for me, and I have definitely been interested in making Pompano Beach better. It is not necessarily better because a developer says it's better. It is not necessarily all these projects. And I think one of the things that is relevant is that as a real estate broker, what it comes across, and I'm not sure how it is, but how it's coming across to the residents is that you're talking to all these people who are saying how great and wonderful things are, but those people have vested interest in the projects that they're developing. And when you talk to the people, not just high rises, but just in general, when you talk to the people, they have very valid concerns about where those interests lie and why certain votes are made in a certain fashion. AKA, there's a lot of people who have said this to me, so I'm not necessarily putting words in your mouth, which unfortunately has happened to me a lot when other people are speaking for me. But they say that it seems like it's rubber stamping decisions, and rubber stamping decisions in favor of developers or special interests, and that is a problem. The same goes with the parks. Let's fix out Target. With the parks, it is the city's responsibility to maintain those parks, and I find it shocking, like that back in 2017, when that North Ocean Park, just simply use that one as an example, was slated for the Duet Towers was slated there. The property already then, it was said that the bathrooms there had reached the end of their life cycle, or were nearing the end of their life cycle. So a renovation was going to be necessary regardless. I think it would have been a great idea to, yes, maybe work with the developers to offer that, but at the same time, just needs to be a separation of public park versus developer interests. And so, all sort of park. Also, you know, if we have parks, what I've seen is many times in the city lately, it seems as though we create our own slum and blight, and then somebody wants to come and make something pretty again, and then we have to all cheer for it because it's something that needs to be done. So I would probably keep a close eye on Allsworth Park. I mean, I'm just saying because it is prime location. So yeah, green space is important. We should fix it.
Okay.
Really? I was like, really? 15 minutes away.
So, I do need to address a few things. First off, is my family here and passionate? Yes. Because here's the reality. If you had someone who's running against you, defaming your reputation, spreading misinformation, and lies, she has written that we are on the tape. That is defamation. Why you guys can all yell, but my family can't be upset for their own daughter?
It's beneath the office for you to start
Listen.
this nonsense. I'm here about policy.
And I am.
About your family stuff.
This is what
Take the junk somewhere else. Take the junk somewhere else.
Man, let's put her.
Let her what?
The reality is I care a lot about Pompano. Pompano is my home. I am, first and foremost, as a realtor, Dad,
Why don't you go down there and talk? Lisa, why don't you take, excuse me, I can't hear her.
Mom, first and foremost, I am a residential broker. I have, right, but I represent people buying homes, people moving their families here, people buying condos here, people who, again, live here, work here, not the developers. I think, I support the developers, and guess what? Development, when I was in development back in DC, one of my vice presidents said something that's very important. He said development is gonna happen, the way change is gonna happen. Either you control it or it controls you. You wanna see where development has controlled a community? Not to pickle them too much, but go look down at Dania, where all of US 1 is bumper to bumper and filled with little by-the-hour motels, little by-the-day, by-the-hour motels, and then next to super tall buildings, it wasn't controlled from the beginning.
It's not controlled
Thank
now.
goodness
The city
we
isn't
had-
even open. They can't even handle, the building department can't handle. They were
The
closed
city
for-
still works a
How
40-hour
long do
week.
you think it costs? How long do you think it takes? They were closed Wednesday and Thursday for the hurricane, which we paid for. And Monday again, which we paid for. There was
How long does it take for a building permit? Why don't you ask around? Why don't you? You worked for the city for a long time, Lisa, so why don't you tell us? Yeah, because there's not enough house. There's not enough house. Because-
All right, please, we're gonna let the commissioner speak. If everyone could just please be respectful, we're almost done. I'm sure you'll have plenty of opportunity to talk to the commissioner after if you want.
So yeah, I'll wrap it up too. Is yes, I do know when my cousin was here, we helped you and your now husband look for houses all around Fort Lauderdale. There were many factors in why someone moves here. And I've spoken to many people who have moved here since, some from Boca, some from Fort Lauderdale, people that I speak to, and obviously maybe not in this room, and they love what has come to Pompano. They love that they're moving to Pompano. They love the future of Pompano and what we are offering. And that is my focus the entire time, is to do the best for my city, my hometown, and my residents here. And my residents, that's where I'm getting to.
Don't talk to us.
I talk to a lot of residents.
Why did you leave?
No, you know what? No, Mom. No, come email me. I will sit down with you anytime you want. We will go have coffee and sit down as long as you like. I will sit down. I sit down with any resident as long as they like. I will come to your house. I will go. You can go sit at How You Brewing.
Well, now because you're
It's the first time you've reached out to me.
first time that you're running for an election. Before, you just got right in.
This is my third
Now
election.
you've got some competition.
Mr. Drum was my competition a few years ago.
He dropped out because he had knee surgery.
He didn't drop out. He was at early voting all the time. He was there. Don't discount his run.
All right, everybody, we're gonna conclude now. I appreciate everyone who come out tonight. I appreciate everyone's questions. Thank you all for coming. And please vote. No matter who you vote for, please vote.
Just